raised the motion that politics should be taught to children in schools from the age of 14, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, yeah.
And unfortunately, that motion didn't carry, did it?
No, it didn't. I was very disappointed actually in it because, we have to engage. We have to find ways of engaging more with our young people on the island, and somebody my age is not going to know how to do it. So I sort of teamed up with a young man who did all the research into it and talked to his friends and everything else. And this was the one thing that was sort of like the bedrock of getting people interested in it. First of all, you have to know how it works. So that was his recommendation of how we could engage better with young people so that they could understand how the system worked in the first place. And then maybe we could build on that. Because they've got the vote at 16, but they've got no preparation for it. They don't understand how it works. And I think a lot of people, you don't know how something works when you leave school, and then life gets in the way and you're busy working and having families and getting mortgages and things. And all of a sudden you realise you don't actually know how it works, but you feel a bit foolish to ask then.
Yes, so how would you have suggested that politics be taught to children from the age of 14 in schools?
Well, it's about the Manx system, because we're unique. We're not like the UK system. And there's no other way of... how are our young people going to get to know? You get some of them go around the Tynwald tours and some go to the junior Tynwald, but that doesn't reach everybody. And everybody should know how their own political system works.
So what happened was an amendment was made by the Department of Education saying that we already supported the work that went on. Do you support the work that goes on?
Well, yeah, of course you do. There's nothing wrong with the work that they're doing, but I just don't think it was going far enough. Or, as I said, the young people who spoke to the young man who was helping me didn't think it was going far enough. Well, they wanted to know more.
This is interesting. In the preparation for this project, I've done some research with people my age.
Good.
And I did a survey in which 250 people took part, which I was very pleased about.
Yeah.
The figure there was, so there were questions such as, do you know the name of the Chief Minister? Can you name both of your MHKs? 22% could name both of their MHKs.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah. I'm surprised at the amount, actually.
Okay.
It's disappointingly low because everybody should know that. But then a lot of people don't. And I sort of take heart at the fact that 22% did know. That's really good.
And 34% could name the Chief Minister, which I thought was, again, quite an interesting one. Yeah. So when the motion didn't carry, though, did you not think, OK, this hasn't carried, I can take this into my own hands. I'll go and speak to the young people and teach them how this system works?
Well, how would you do that? We can't just go into schools and do things like that. We were talking about this in Women in Politics the other night in the Legion. Now, things may be changing now, but certainly a number of years ago, we asked one of the schools, I'm not going to say which one it was, but we asked one of the schools if we could put in like survey forms so we could find out what it was that young people were interested in. And they said no, because obviously there could be a political bias. And we said, well, we won't put anything on the forms apart from the questions.
Who's we? Sorry, is this?
This is Liberal Van
Yeah.
And the school said no, you can't go into schools unless you're invited in. MLCs can, but MHKs can't, because it's giving an unfair advantage, if you like, possibly come election time.
So you're saying MHKs can't go into a school unless they're invited?
That's what we were told at the time. I haven't challenged that since, I'll be honest, but that is what we were told at the time. I can see why there is difficulty with that, which is why we thought it should be taught in schools themselves, rather than hearing from an individual politician or a group of politicians, because we even suggested, well, OK, if we have people from outside of the constituency, an MHK, say Ramsey, if you had a Douglas MHK going to talk to them, their families and those children would not be voting for that MHK because they're outside the area. But as I say, at that time, they didn't sort of like the idea. We did have one young man who was very interested in getting sort of a youth branch of Liberal Van started. And the idea was that they could have their own meetings separately, but then come and join us if they wanted, or let us know what they thought about issues that were cropping up. So we had their views.
Do Liberal Vannin engage with young people?
We try. We do try, and I think with Laurie Hooper, who's significantly younger than I am, I think we stand a better chance.
Because I went onto the Liberal Vannin website just now, and I typed in youth, and there was a page, Youth News. But it wasn't very full. It just said the well-being of our young people in the Isle of Man is extremely important. After all, in the long term, they are the beneficiaries of the island, and due credence must be paid to their concerns, both present and future. Click here to submit your comments. That's not really youth news.
No, I'm afraid it isn't. The website is a little bit out of date, and we know that at the moment.
So would a big part of engaging with young people not be having a good web presence? Would you
Absolutely. We've just had a meeting the other day with somebody who's going to help us with our sort of presence in our PR side, of the media side of it, if you like.
Great.
Because I'm not very technically minded. And Laurie, who is, obviously now he's an MHK, you're both incredibly busy doing the parliamentary sort of side of things. You haven't got the capacity to do all this other stuff as well. And I say the other members who are very, very helpful, they haven't got the technical expertise, if you like, on some of the stuff. But hopefully we now have somebody who's going to help us revamp. We're looking to have a relaunch next year, so hopefully it'll be a bit more user-friendly for people and a bit more up-to-date.
Brilliant. And because you would have thought Liberal Vannin would suggest, I would have said young people would be a good outreach for you, because young people are probably some of the more liberal people in the community.
Yeah,
would you say?
I would agree. But as I say, for somebody my age to know what is interesting for young people, as I say, I think myself I'm probably a little bit too old to decide what your age group is interested in. We need, as I say, that's why I worked with Patrick, who was very knowledgeable, and he was such a help. He was a joy to work with. So
would you try again to get politics to be taught in schools? Because it's worth remembering the politicians who are in the House now are a different group of people. They
are very different. And again, that came over in the PAG meeting at the Legion, that maybe there's a sort of a sea change happening about a number of issues. It certainly is worth trying again.
Would you try again?
Yeah.